So now let us see what are the things to be in the proposal. Before that, there are some criteria to be noted, which the panel members they seek that as a major criteria. The first thing is the objective of your product. That is the important, very, very important thing when the panel members they go through your project, they first look into your objectives. So be careful while drafting your objectives. You're finalizing your objectives and your research questions. Okay, research questions and your hypothesis also it plays a major role in your research project. And what will be the outcomes, the implication, outcomes of your project. So does the proposal addresses a well-formulated problem? So I told you it should not be a conservative one, something which has to be added to that. So it should be a well-formulated problem. Or is it a research problem or just a routine application of a known technique? Okay, so they just look into that. If it is a routine thing, then there is chance of your rejection. So while just choosing the research area, you should be more careful. And the very important question here is whether the solution will have an usual effects. So here, what is the implication of the project? That is more they look into. And is special funding necessary to solve the problem or to solve it quickly enough? So you need some additional funding for this from your institution, from other agency, that also they look into. So there are some, that you have an space for getting the funds from other agency also. So partly they fund and partly you can get a fund from your organization. So normally our organization, they give a seed money to start the research. So that will be that what most of the agencies they look into. Okay, so these are some of the criterias, like whether the proposers have a good idea, or like they have some prior experience, and whether your proposal explains clearly what you want to do, and the evidence of what they have knowledge about the existing proposal, and the proposals have a good track record. As I told you that your resume is a very, very important thing, and the implications for policy making. So finally, they aim at the implications for policy making. So these are the major criteria they look into, and the secondary criteria is whether they also look that whether the applicant with the existing funding may be favored due to evidence of good records. And that you have the enough background to carry out the research. And also priority is given to new researchers also. So while applying, when I applied my first project, I didn't have my doctorate degree and have any experience. So only my proposal it speaks. So that also matters. So they also give space for the new researchers. So if you don't have any good track record, your proposal should be more attractive. Okay, so you have to design in such a way. You have to choose a research area in such a way that it attracts the people, like the recent current trends in the industry. And yes, obviously, funders generally prefer to offer a reasonable balance of support for different research areas. So here it means that the research funding agency, what they do is normally they come out with the theme areas. Theme areas means in various fields, like maybe they give, they list out on education or in the governance, okay, and in the social related studies, the technology related studies. So they come out with some theme areas actually. So they give equal weightage on these theme areas. Suppose they come out with the 10 theme areas. So if they are ready to give some 50 proposals, then each theme area should get at least 2 proposals to be supported by, or to be sanctioned in each theme area. 2 proposals should be sanctioned. Or if it is 50, then 5 proposals. If it is 20, 2 proposals. So there is a balance of support for different research areas has to be done. You know that how to choose that theme is also plays a major role, because you see, if you have been given with 10 theme areas, and one among that is the COVID pandemic related. So if you choose the same pandemic theme, so you also know that many people, being it's a current trend in the nowadays, then most of the people submit a proposal on this COVID pandemic related theme. But you know, if you get more proposals on the same thing, the probability of rejection will be more, right, for your project. So you have to be more careful while selecting the theme. So if you get a pandemic related theme, if you get some 20 proposals in that, and in the other rest of the themes, they get one proposal, the probability of selection in that rest of the thing is more, because here you get only 2 proposals to be sanctioned in that particular theme. So be wise and careful while selecting the themes also. That also matters here. So this is a secondary criteria that they look into. And straight away we can next we'll move on to the common shortcomings of the research proposal. So a new idea is claimed, but insufficient technical details are not given properly. So it's insufficient technical details are not given. So your conceptual framework, it's matters then, concepts. So it has to be backed up by the citations. Okay. And the proposed research has already been done. I told you tribal education. Yes, many people have done that, but how you add up value to the existing research, that matters here. And the proposal is badly presented or incomprehensible. So it should be in the format, and your idea should be presented well, both in the hot copy as well as while you present that in front of the committee members, it has to be presented well. I'll show you at the end of this session, I'll show you some proposals that what I have built. The proposals seem to be attending too much for funded requested or time scale, like, you know, that um, the proposals. I mean, if you expect too much funding and too much time for completing the project. Actually, I have applied for 2 years project for the so it's 2.5 years for that particular project, but they have limited me for only 2 years. So they may limit. So you should not go beyond that. Okay, so that should be very careful while budget designing the budget as well as your time frame. So it should not be too expensive, and the proposals institution should be funding it. Sometimes it's not mandatory, but some funding agencies, they may expect your institution to fund. So normally our institution, they go for give a seed money for to start up the fund, a mere like some 20,000 or 50,000 to start up. So the proposals, if that also adds up to your proposal, like to get selected. So the proposal is just a routine application of a known technique. If it is a routine application of known technique, the probability of rejection is more in this case. So what's the difference between the research and the project proposal is nothing but here in research, normally what we apply to the for a dissertation or for a PhD program. So we emphasize more on the contribution that the researcher will make to the field, the contribution it gives. But here it emphasizes the impact, and that helps in the decision policy making. Okay, so that's a main difference here between the research and the project proposal. And the main thing now we discuss is about the content of the research project. So what should be the research content of the research project? The first is your title page, or we say that it's a cover page, which carries all the information like the title, to whom you're going to submit, whom we are, from which institution we are going to submit, So all the details should be there, and your title and the year of submission, everything should be there. Like as a cover page that we give for a report, a PhD dissertation report, or any other report, we just it's similar to that of the title page should be added to this proposal. And next comes the abstract. It's a main thing. An abstract. It should be of one page or 1.5 page, which detail. It's a brief um, write up on the whole research. Okay, so it should be very clear and it should be in very simple words. And next comes the table of contents. Table of contents here is nothing but the same as that we give in a project report or your PhD report. So it should carry like the table of contents. Next follows with the like a table list of figures and list of tables. So this table of contents should be given only mainly for the big report like uh, opening up an entrepreneurship development cell and similar kind of programs in your organization. But it is not mandatory that you have to put a table of contents for the research proposal. Okay, if it is for a program, some big program or any workshop, then you can add up. Or any research centers you want to open up in your organization, then you can go for the table of contents. But it is not required in case of a research proposal. And the next one is introduction. It's been repeated, just leave that. And introduction, it should carry your introduction for the study with the possible like citations unless your idea is backed up or supported by the citations, then the rejection probability will be more. So the people, they look into your the literature review or your the supporting evidence of your study. Okay, and they also find out what's a gap you have to mention. So background of the study. Sometimes you can include the background of the study in the introduction part. So the background of the study should be supported with your that citations. A review of literature, yes, review of literature. It adds up to your proposal. So with the citations and what is a gap and everything has to be identified based on the review of literature. So after review of literature, obviously we go for the setting up the hypothesis or the research questions and then hypothesis. So next comes the detailed research proposal. Okay, it should start with a conceptual framework. So whenever we propose some research, it should be backed up by some theories. If you have some theories related to the study, if you add up that theories, backup of that theories in your studies, definitely it carries weightage. So here you just propose the research which is backed up by some well-known theories. If it is there, you just add it and make a conceptual framework, and the objectives, the research questions, and finally the hypothesis. So you have to concentrate more on the framework, conceptual framework, and the objectives here. And research methodology, what are the things to be under this research methodology part? Your sampling technique, sample plan or sample size, and how you calculate the sample size, the technique, and that what are the analysis that you're going to do and what are the software you're going to use. Everything should be under this research methodology part. And they put, while you present your paper or your proposal to the committee members, they put more questions on your objectives as well as the research methodology part. So you should be strong on that, should be strong on what you have proposed. Suppose if you select some research technique, that sampling technique, and you should substantiate that why you have chosen that technique. Okay, unless you are substantiating that in front of the peer panel members, then that then it's very difficult. Okay, so you should support what are the things that you have presented. You should be more confident on your research methodology part, and your sample size, everything, whatever you propose, you should be strong on that. And next comes the impact of the research, obviously, impact on the society, and that the implications on the society, which helps for the policy making and the decision making. And the list of references should be there, and uh, it's nothing but the bibliography, so where you refer, and the detailed time frame. That is more important. Detailed time frame. It's nothing but your monthly time frame. Like if you are proposing for 1 year project, so if you are proposing, so if you're proposing for 1 year project, then that the every month plan should be there. Like first month, I'm going to do a review literature. For second month, I'll be recruiting the people for my study. And third month, I go for framing the hypothesis or framing the questionnaire. So something. So the month-wise plan has to be proposed in detail. That's a very important thing. And finally, the budget. Budget, normally what the funding agency, they come out with a format for budget. Okay. So they also allocate the percentage of funding for each head. Heads means like for travel, for data collection, for your personal recruitment. So they allocate some percentage of money for the under each head. So you have to devise accordingly, or you have to calculate accordingly, and finally you have to come out with the project. Okay. So this is about the overall structure for the project. And if you make it clear and submit it, and definitely the chance of being accepted will be more. And you should also present um, in front of the panel members with all the information. So it's about the structure of the research proposal.